I love the holidays, but shopping is always a daunting task. I was so excited when Skims announced its biggest holiday gift shop ever. This shop is going to make my holiday shopping so easy this year. The Skims Holiday Gift Shop has something for everyone. Sisters, moms, dads, boyfriends, best friends, even pets. Skims is creating the next generation of underwear, loungewear, and shapewear. I recently got Skims Soft Lounge Sleep Set in the Smoke Sparkle print, and let me tell you, they're so comfy. Super soft with tons of stretch. I think it's the most comfortable set I've ever worn to sleep. You've never been this cozy at home for the holidays. Collections are available in sizes extra small to 4X for women and unisex styles, and start at newborn sizing for children's styles. Skims makes holiday shopping so easy, with styles for everyone in the family. Skims Holiday Gift Shop is the destination for all of your gifting needs. Believe the hype. Skims has over 100,000 5-star reviews for a reason. Skims Holiday Gift Shop is now open at skims.com. Plus, get free shipping on orders over $75. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey, and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows.
You better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romance in the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romance in the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
I'm Mikey Randolph.
Are you okay?
I'm reading a cue card.
Who's holding it up, Macy?
And I'm Todd Schlosser. And this week, I made you guys watch
About Time.
So, was this the first time you guys have seen this movie?
This is my first time today.
Oh,
I used to
was
watch
it?
it a lot when I was on Netflix, when I was in like a sappy mood.
Yeah, I saw this once. I think I may have seen this in theaters. And it was before my dad died. And I watched it again tonight, having
I feel
lost
like this
my
was
dad.
bad.
And I cried so much this time. I'm sure I cried the first time. I remembered it being sad. But man, that dad shit hit me so hard tonight.
Oh yeah, I was crying watching it at my house, and I was like, Todd's probably a fucking mess right now, because you and I were watching it at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe if he hadn't manipulated all of those around him with time travel, then God wouldn't have smited his father away from the earth.
No, I mean, I wrote that in my notes. Like, this movie is problematic. It's not as problematic as The Time Traveler's Wife, because no one is grooming a child in this movie.
And there's no time traveling fetuses in this movie, which honestly, I think it's missing.
I
Maybe
do
a little
feel
bit.
like it is to its detriment.
I think for me, this movie, it's not quite weird enough for me to like laugh and scream about it for time travel problematic stuff. It's probably the least problematic time travel movie we've done.
I agree
think
with
the
that.
least, it's still problematic though. Yes.
I think the problems in the beginning, it tries to solve them of like, hey, you can't make people love you, even if you go back and try to. Like there was a fake factor in there. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
That kind of solves the manipulation thing. And then I was like, well.
It doesn't though, because it undoes that halfway through the movie.
And I was like, fuck that guy's play. That's all I'm saying.
That guy is my favorite character.
He's my favorite character. I was like, I'd be friends with that curmudgeonly asshole.
He's clearly a tortured genius.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And when he's like, my wife left me, I was like, shocker. But I do feel like the one thing that it's a catch-22, because there are parts of it that I love, parts of it that I don't like.
Yeah.
Todd, I agree with you in that I always love when a time travel movie doesn't tell us shit about how it works. Or if they do, they tell us like 5 seconds of stuff about how it works, and they're like, don't worry about it.
I literally wrote that in my notes too, Paige. I was like, I love how this movie is just very hardcore. Don't worry about the time travel shit.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
But on the flip side, this movie also makes up rules the whole time. So like every, 15 minutes or so, it's like, oh, fuck, I forgot to tell you. You can't go back after a baby because reasons.
Well, the thing is, you can't go back after a baby.
It just changes that
baby. You
baby.
just get a whole new baby, which that is someone who's writing this movie, Richard Curtis, obviously, way overthinking how sex works and how babies are made. I mean, technically he's accurate, but like, do we need that level?
No, because according to that rule, you'd have to go back pre-conception, but instead he's able to go back literally up until she has the baby. So it's just that like he hasn't met the baby.
Yeah, Paige, it's way darker. It's that he doesn't give a shit about that baby until it's out of the womb.
Until it's out of the
I thought that was super dark. Also, because he takes his sister back in time, and then she fixes her life and then goes back to the future. And while she's still in the cupboard, she remembers Jay and that her and Jay got together in this new timeline. That means Domhnall Gleeson has all these fucking loads of memories about his
completely different memories
about his son, right? That he then gives away to get Posey back,
right? Or at least memories of those moments.
Well, he had those memories, compared it to Posey, and was like, "I think I like Posey better."
I prefer Posey. But here's what's wild to me, because I did not hate this movie. I don't love it. I feel like I could cut 30 minutes out of it.
Well, it's a Richard Curtis movie, so you definitely could cut 30 minutes out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, you could cut 30 minutes out of it. You've also got a weird sister who men are mean to, which has shown up in like 3 different Richard Curtis movies.
Yeah.
You got too many side plots. You got too many friends to keep track of. It's all the problems. Although the least, I would say this movie does the best of focusing on our main character.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Which is usually a problem.
Yeah, I think Notting Hill is the closest to this.
Right.
But this really focuses, and I think a little bit to its detriment, on just Domhnall Gleeson, really. We don't really ever get Rachel McAdams' side of the relationship.
What pisses me off is that so he can take other people, and like his one love here, he's never gonna tell her.
He never shares it with her.
The dad never tells the mom, and doesn't like take the mom on like a last trip to visit all of the like older times.
Well, we don't see that.
And Uncle Desmond is able to go.
Yeah.
Well, allegedly.
But
and we never talk about it. He clearly knows and has like talked to the dad, and like we never address it.
Yeah.
They play those characters as not manipulative, but like not telling them feels manipulative.
Yes, it does.
It feels weird. And I agree with you. But I think because it's not manipulative, they're feeling like they should be able to get away with it in the movie. But what they're really doing is just removing any female character's agency.
Or any facts about them.
Yes.
Other than related to the men in their lives. Because like, other than reading, name one thing about Rachel McAdams.
She likes Kate Moss.
She likes Kate Moss. That's like the one thing.
Which is the most bizarre hobby interest ever. Like, if you like Kate Moss, great, I get it. I just have no idea why. And this movie makes a huge deal out of it.
I literally said to myself, should I know who Kate Moss is? Because
she's a very famous
aggressively
model.
did not. Okay, cool.
She's a very famous model, and earlier than this movie, though. Like, this movie is kind of too late for the Kate Moss fandom, but she has been photographed by probably every very famous editorial photographer in the world, I would guess.
Sure.
And so I guess if you're super into her, you might be interested in that. I don't understand. And maybe this is just me. I don't understand the point of being obsessed with someone who is just photographed. If you want to be obsessed with a photographer, I'm all about it.
I actually might go to that to see all the photographers' different takes on the same, like, quote, canvas, right?
Right.
That
yeah, okay.
aspect of it
I
might
could
be
see
cool.
that.
And I don't even know who Kate Moss is, really. I mean, I saw pictures of her in this movie.
Yeah, very famous for like Guess jeans and stuff.
If she wasn't on America's Next Top Model, I did not watch it during COVID when Natalie rewatched them all.
Oh, that I refuse to rewatch that show for my mental health.
Oh, it was so toxic, I thought the Lachey's produced it.
Oh, it's bad. Bad. Did you get to the plus size season where no one's above a 16?
I didn't.
I was like, this is straight size. What the fuck? Or when they told a woman who's a size 8 that she should stop eating the food they were providing her in the house so that she could lose weight, and then made her pose as an elephant.
You know, the mid-2000s.
Oh, my Lord.
Woo. There actually wasn't any, if that I can remember, fat shaming in this Richard Curtis movie.
There's less of it than the other one.
There's less of it. It is still very much there. It happens a few different times with a few different characters. I took note every time. But additionally, there's also a lot of Asian racism in this movie.
That was a theme in one of his last movies, too.
I know. I was like, what? It was in Bridget Jones
Yes.
also. And I was like, does he have a problem with Asian people?
I definitely think there's evidence to suggest yes, but who knows?
But no, there is some fat shaming in it. Although I would say of the Richard Curtis films we've done, the least.
I mean, we are coming off of Bridget Jones' Diary. That is like
Yeah.
fat shame the movie. So this felt like it was devoid of all of that. Although, I mean, I'm sure you'll share with us when it did happen, but
It was not devoid.
it wasn't a plot point, at least.
True,
in
true.
this
yes.
movie.
No, in this movie, it's just offhand comments where it's like, man, the worst thing in Richard Curtis's mind is for anyone to be fat, it seems.
I heard the best joke that you're supposed to tell a child, which is like unicorns went extinct because corn dogs used to be unicorn dogs.
So they're deep fried unicorn horns? That's amazing. Delicious. I love it.
And I just picture telling a little girl that and her crying. And
As she's like chomping down on what she now thinks is a unicorn horn.
Well, if they wanted to survive, they shouldn't have been that delicious.
Well, if they wanted to survive, I guess they shouldn't have been so.
Tasty.
I still want to eat a manatee.
Steaks of the ocean. Anyway, yeah. So you can cut 30 minutes out of it. There's still a smattering of fat shaming.
Yeah.
What pisses me off the most about this film is that it has a really good meet cute.
I love the meet
it has
cute.
a great meet cute, and then it throws it away.
It throws it away. I was so pissed.
Me too.
Although their second meet cute equally as good.
Where he knows what he's looking for.
Well, I mean, the second one is a little manipulative because he knows she's going to be there, whatever.
Yeah.
But the idea of walking up to somebody and being like, I'm not enjoying this party either. You want to get out of here? I'm like,
Oh, I thought you meant the museum part and then him finding out that she has
Oh,
a boyfriend
no.
now and then undoing that for her.
undoing that. Although her boyfriend did seem like a total asshole, but that is manipulative and bad.
Yeah, I mean, it is removing her agency.
But I mean, it wouldn't be if he would have just gone back and made the choice of like, okay, well, my uncle, this guy has to have a bad
fuck
day.
his
So
play. Yeah.
yeah, he's famous. It'll be fine.
Okay, hear me out. We establish in this movie that there is an element of fate, right?
Yes.
You can't make someone fall in love with you.
Right.
The sister ends up with the other guy regardless because he just suggests it. He doesn't like engineer that or whatever.
I mean, he sort of engineers it like you might set someone up on a blind date or a double date. Like, 'cause that's
Yes.
all he
Right.
really does.
But that's all he really does, right?
Yeah.
So if that's true, then and she like she's at the museum happenstance, like things like that where I'm like, I think they would have ended up together no matter what. It's just how.
Yes, he's fated. Like he's like, I know this will work, so I can go do this.
Right.
Which is how the movie kind of gets around the nastiness of the time travel.
Yeah.
Right. I do like that at a certain point the movie's like, he doesn't travel anymore. He just lives.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
I wouldn't have done that. I would have done some really fucked up stuff if I had this ability.
Yeah.
Well, but you can, I
same.
do
Yeah.
love that early in the movie they're like, I can't kill Hitler. I wasn't alive then. And you're like, oh, all right.
But this is like how every choice you make branches into two paths. You can literally just follow a thing and then just
then come
rewind it
back
back.
and-
Yeah. And be like, well, I lived that life. Let's make another decision.
But then you couldn't get back to the other one. Like, that's the thing is like, you could never relive perfectly. And so it's kind of like, once you make the choice to change, that life is just fucking gone.
Yeah.
But if you're single, I bet it would be fine.
I got to time travel to a night you don't get pregnant. Sorry. Because that Mikey, that's how you'd use it. You know
Instead
what
of
I'm saying?
leaving with an Uber, I'd just be like, bye. And then I'd go back to the bar and I'm like, already hooked up with her.
Who's this?
It's not considered ghosting if it never happened because of time travel.
Well,
Sure.
it's a parallel universe and I'm just jumping between them. Now I'm back at the bar. Let's go for that one. You could do it as many times. Well, probably like, for my case, maybe 2 if you tried really hard.
I did love in this movie where she was like, well, you know, he enjoys the night 3
Yes.
different times.
Which does feel kind of sweet to me, even though it's a little fucked up.
It is, yes. No, I got that too. I think it's the way it's done is still very sweet. But I did like that she was like, oh, only one time? And he's like, all right.
He's like, my dick's about to fall off. Yeah.
I don't know if his refractory period would It would reset
Does it
every
reset?
time.
Yeah.
It would have to reset because your body like physically did not come. We should break this down by
Okay,
how.
but here's the thing. He's still the same person. So I think it like resets your refractory period, but you still like went through the act.
Well, you're mentally you have the memory of it for sure.
Would you kill someone and rewind
To see what it felt like.
just to see what it felt like to see the life leave their body?
Mikey, I've listened to a lot of serial killer interviews to know that once you pop, you rarely stop that game. So, like, no.
But if you were a serial killer, you could like stalk someone, kill them, rewind it back, pick someone else.
Kill that, rewind it back.
Little John got the stabs to make your body go.
Yeah, so, like, I don't think that's a good idea.
I'm just saying, I think eventually I'd go more Palm Springs on it, you know? Like,
Yeah, I definitely would too. But I think what Mikey just like explained was the only ethical serial killer, and that to me is funny.
Well, is it ethical because that person does experience that trauma in that moment, and even though they don't keep it, you are inflicting pain in that moment.
Yeah, it's probably not ethical.
or are you jumping between parallel realities in the decision tree so those realities still exist, you're just jumping between them?
Oh God, now we're getting into like Rick and Morty level multiverse theory.
Multiverse
and
theory.
I do feel like that is what this movie deserves. So let's get
Have
into it.
you guys read Michael Crichton's timeline?
Yes, I have.
Let's fucking talk about it. What if there's a little leak in one of those tanks?
Paul Walker's in that film.
That movie is terrible for a book that is like really good and it's underrated among Crichton's library.
Like, this movie doesn't anything fun with it. Like, if my boss pissed me off, the first thing I would do is throw a table at them and then like go nuts and then be like, okay, go to the closet and then like undo it. Like, none of that stuff ever happens.
No.
Go full folding chair on people.
Uh-huh.
I love that the police were like, turn yourself in, folding chair guy. I was like, fat fucking chance.
I know, right?
Idiots. Yeah, well, Mikey, I think the thing that you really want is the Palm Springs version that has the reset, right? So that you could like blow yourself up and then you're still there the next day, you know, like that kind of.
But he can reset it anytime he wants. He can
can.
reset
Not
if
4
he's
minutes
dead.
back.
Right. He can, but if he dies, it doesn't automatically reset. Yeah.
Yeah, he can't die. So it is a dangerous game of constant reset because if you ever die or if you get super sick or whatever, like if something stops you from being able to reset, then you're fucking stuck.
So Bill Nighy's character had 2 children, was diagnosed with a cancer, and didn't go back to reset because he would have lost his kids, right?
He addresses this where they think it's lung cancer. They think he got it from smoking. And he says, I would have gone back to stop smoking, but you two had already been born.
Yeah.
And I would have had to have gone back too far and I would have lost both of you.
Right.
So in that, it is kind of noble that he was like, I just have to live with this now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, he made the decision to die so his kids would still be around. And that's like not really talked about in this movie at all. It's just like an implication of him passing away. But still, I was like, God damn, that would be a hard decision to make, you know?
No, I don't think that would be hard. He's lived a whole life.
No, I mean...
And he can go back as many times as he wants until he dies.
Oh, man. You guys wouldn't want to go back and like relive events?
He can relive anything up to after his kids.
Up to after the kids.
But like and change them, like change the outcome of them.
No, I probably would not want to change the outcome of anything.
Fuck, man. I absolutely would. Are you kidding me? The Powerball's up to 1.55 billion, Paige. Sorry.
Well, his dad told him money doesn't really help anything, and he listened.
Yeah.
That's because his dad has been retired since
Already
50s.
rich. Yeah.
So he clearly doesn't fucking know what poverty feels like.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's all at that level of wealth. He is right. Like everything's taken care of. So more money isn't going to make them happier. So I got what he was saying.
Well, and it's like he's a lawyer, you know, so
I mean,
they're going to be fine.
I don't disagree with the sentiment the movie was making because they are set up financially, you know, like more money probably won't lead to happiness for them.
Yeah, or at least the unending pursuit for more money definitely won't. For me, I am a believer that like every brick makes the wall, right? So like even the bad stuff it happened to make me who I am today, and I like who I am today. So I wouldn't change things. Hard though that may be, but like for me, it was necessary to be this. And I'm happy with this. So
You should be. You fucking rock.
thank you.
Yeah, but I honestly completely agree with everything you said. I don't know that I wouldn't go back and change things still.
There's only one thing to do. I've got to stop 9/11.
I definitely would love to see what would have happened had Mark Wahlberg just been on one of those planes. You know what I'm saying?
Just roundhouse kicking box cutters after people's hands. I won't be who I am today if you stop 9/11. I was 13 and was like, fuck this. I don't trust the government or anything.
You will now. I'm going to bring back the 90s forever.
Paige is going to be a Republican.
I'm gonna be a bitchy Republican.
But Republicanism would be probably pretty different too. We change everything.
That is true. Who knows what it would be like without that? But like, I don't know.
It's okay. It'll be me going back in time as a senior in high school to stop the whole thing.
Good luck. Somebody get Mahmoud Ahmadinejad on the phone.
I do think if you went back in time and you were a teenager at the time, and then you went to like the FBI and were like, hey, there's going to be this terrorist attack, they would throw you in a cell and just interrogate the shit out of you.
Well, they would have been like, yeah, we know. And then just...
and then shot him in the back of the head, double tap style.
I don't know. I could do some other stuff. How would you stop it? Yeah, I'd just be like, I saw it on the dark web.
I definitely wouldn't have asked my friend Dustin to take me to Wendy's that one day my brother died. Like, those are the kind of things I would change.
True, but Todd, and again, controversial statement, you would not be where you are today
No,
had that
I
not
know.
happened to you.
You
I
need to
know.
watch the Across the Spider-Universe movies, Todd. They address a lot of these topics.
My friend is in one.
I don't want to cry that much. I cried so
fair.
much during this movie, guys. So fucking much.
I have cried in, I think, every Spider-Man movie, and
Yeah.
especially the last one.
Yeah, when Mary Jane hit her head really hard,
Yeah.
that was fucking rough, man.
Zendaya, no! Yeah. Rough.
Should we just go through this movie scene by scene, guys?
Sure.
Yeah, there sure is a ton of them.
Yeah, it is a long, it's a full 2 hours, and it is full.
Yeah.
And I think you could cut out 2 or 3 subplots and get a tight 90-minute movie that makes you cry just as much.
Maybe even more.
Maybe more. Anyway, we open on his voiceover, Domhnall Gleeson's voiceover, just about like his family. Like, here's who everybody is. Here's mom and dad. Here's Uncle Desmond. We don't know why he's here. And then here's my sister Katie, who is the same sister from every Richard Curtis movie.
Yeah. This honestly feels like every Richard Curtis movie. Your Hugh Grant allegory,
Yeah, Domhnall Gleeson.
voiceovers, and sets up the story for you and explains that he has a weird friend group / family or whatever. Like, that is the
Right.
Richard Curtis formula.
To a T. And he talks about all the stuff they do as a family, because in every Richard Curtis movie, that one core group is always the best group of all groups. Nothing could separate the group.
Yeah.
All the things the group does, ending with their New Year's Eve party where he fucking blows off Boo from Fleabag. And I was like, how fucking dare you?
Paige, he had to go back to make it right. And when he did, I was very pleased because she was about to die in Fleabag. So, like,
Absolute. I was like, she's gonna get hit by a truck.
yeah, she needs a kiss, guys. Come on.
She needs a kiss and a gerbil cafe or guinea pig cafe.
Yeah, guinea
That's what it
pigs.
is.
Yeah. She's so good in that show. Oh, my God. Okay.
Talk about a show that makes me cry a lot. Fleabag.
Same girl.
It's just cathartic.
Yeah. It's emotional masturbation.
I mean, a little bit. The first season is, and then the second season is just coming the whole time. You're just like, yes, that's right. Get the hot priest.
Why are the foxes after him?
The fox is a metaphor for life or God or something. We can talk about it for a long time at another time. We have to talk about how she only looks at the camera when he's around and he can see. And why can he see the fourth wall? We can't get into it right
Can't
now.
Get into it, guys.
Sign up for Twitch or something and I'll do a TED Talk on Fleabag and why it's one of the best TV shows that's ever been made.
It is.
Anyway, he blows off Boo and it makes me mad.
He doesn't blow her off. I think he just like miscalculates it. Like
And handshakes where she goes in for a kiss.
I think that he didn't think she wanted to kiss him, so he went in for a handshake. I think it was an insecurity thing on his part more than it wasn't that he didn't want to kiss her.
See,
because he goes back and kisses her.
He does, but I read it as he didn't want to kiss her and he thought that she did and he didn't know what to do. And so when he came back and kissed her, I was like, oh no, a clinger. Like, what are we going to do? This is what starts Fleabag.
Although at the end of this, like, they know each other's names, like, but she's never in the movie again.
Never again. I don't know.
No.
Anyway, the next day he gets up and his dad is like, hey, come to my office. Don't tell your mom. We can fucking time travel. And I've kept this secret from her the entire time. And I probably cheated on her when you think about it, but oh well.
Well, no, because he went back in time and it never happened.
And nothing happened but the memories, Mikey.
That doesn't make, like when
He had a total recall. What are you talking about?
Later in this movie, when Margot Robbie comes back, I was like, motherfucker, if you cheat and then just like undo it with time travel, I'm fucking done with you.
I literally wrote that on my notes. I was like, I am so shocked he didn't just bang it out and then undo it.
Yeah, you better fucking watch yourself, Ex Machina. Anyway.
Because Mikey, would you have
had sex with Margot Robbie?
That is the question I put to you, my friend.
Am I in love with Rachel McAdams at the time?
You clearly are, because you, after this, run and propose to her.
It's Rachel McFucking-Adams. What kind of question is that?
She loved you every day for a year.
You mean with these bangs? I'm ugly Rachel McAdams coming out of a restaurant.
It's never been over.
No, of course I would be like, fuck off Margot Robbie, which it still would be difficult. But I really do love Rachel McAdams.
You hear that, Margot Robbie? You can go fuck yourself.
I wouldn't have gone to dinner with her, which I feel like is an interesting choice either.
I was like,
Yeah, I feel like everything up to the point where she comes back and asks him out and he goes was fine. Like, it's an old friend that your sister knows really well. You're both in London, reconnect, that's fine. But like everything else after that, I was like, no, don't go with her.
Stop. No, she's a robot.
She's gonna sell your kidney.
She's gonna stab you after disco dancing with Oscar Isaac.
That's
one of the best movies ever.
Yeah,
that's a good ass movie.
Uh-huh.
If we ever have an action sci-fi podcast, I am bringing that to the table.
Hell yeah.
No, I love Rachel McAdams. I hate that she Sandra Bullocks herself throughout the film.
The whole movie.
I'm frumpy.
Where she's like, my bangs. And I was like, girl, what?
Oh, you mean
everyone's
the
gotten
fringe?
bad bangs. The fringe.
You don't like my hair? It's brown. And I'm like, he looks like a total dweeb.
He's a life-size Beaker of Bunsen and Beaker from the Muppets.
He absolutely is, yes. But he's, he's a catch, guys. His daddy's rich and he's a lawyer. He's a catch.
Yeah.
He also got like, I was definitely head boy at Hogwarts vibes. Like he has that sort of energy.
A real Percy Weasley, if you know what I mean.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah.
For him to have such a good dad, his need to be loved is really out of place.
Everyone's different, though.
Because he's like, time travel, I know what that means. I'll fall in love. And I was like, that is a jump. I would have been like, time to find diamonds. I don't know what I'll do with them.
Well, that's basically because his dad in this scene brings him in and is just like, time travel, and he's like, ha ha ha, and he's like, I didn't kill Hitler because I wasn't alive at the time, and he's like, what the fuck? I guess I'll try this out, and he relives via Narnia the New Year's Eve party from the night before.
I will say this. I was interested, and Bill Nighy was born in 49, which means he was born after Hitler died.
If you believe that Hitler
Yeah,
died
if
in
you
the
believe
bunker
that.
and didn't
Okay.
escape
He probably
to
went in
Argentina.
the bunker and clenched his fist and went all the way back to 1938.
Yeah.
I think the damage had been done at least by the time Bill Nighy could go back. Also, do you expect a baby Bill Nighy to like crawl into a bunker with a shotgun? Like, how does that work, Paige?
You know what? I think I was about to say something crazy.
Say it, say it, say it.
I think a baby Arnold Schwarzenegger would have gotten some shit done.
Change my diaper if you want to live.
Did you read the article today about his audiobook and his battle with dyslexia? Man, old man Arnold, heartstrings. Anyway.
Yeah, it's got to be such a unique thing to battle with dyslexia.
That's why I was asking you, Todd. He basically talked about how he had to read his audiobook and communicate his needs, and how he works super hard to read the audiobook and cares a lot about it.
Yeah, the only difference between you two, Todd, is that people give a shit about him.
I give a shit about Todd, which is why I brought it up.
And he's like, he put way more effort into being like an impressive person than me.
Yeah, his documentary is really interesting.
Like, I think people care way more about him than me because they should.
One of my favorite things about the documentary about him, which hit or miss, I mean, he tells most of the story, so you have to take some of it with a grain of salt. But I do love all the things that he blatantly admits to in that documentary.
Yeah.
Where, like, he's like, yeah, we were all on cocaine. And you're just like, oh, hell yeah, man.
We know,
Fucking
bro.
party.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he couldn't kill Hitler, but Domhnall Gleeson goes back in time to New Year's Eve to kiss Boo.
And he does, and that's pretty much it. But
Awesome.
The whole thing was him proving to himself that the time travel thing does actually work. Which, that scene with him and his dad is very funny, because he's like, this is such a weird joke you're playing on me, Dad. Because it does sort of seem like Bill Nighy is just trying to get him to go to a cupboard and stand in there for like 30 seconds and then come out and be mad at him.
He wants him to go to the wardrobe and then walk out into the winterland where it's
Mr.
always winter and
Thomas!
never Christmas. And time works differently so that when you come back, you've spent years there, but then in our world, you've only been gone for a couple of hours.
It's the Inception model.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, all I mean is, like, it does seem like it's a practical joke. I want to see if my kid is dumb. So let me see if I can convince him to stand in a cupboard. Like, that's like what I thought Bill Nighy was doing. So that's why, I don't know, it is sort of a trivial thing that Domhnall Gleeson goes back and does. But I think it was just him sort of testing it out to see if it works. And that was his most recent, like, embarrassing moment he wanted to redo, you know?
Right. Well, and it's at this point, too, that Bill Nighy is just like, yeah, I don't tell your mom because, wink.
Because they can't be trusted with big information. I mean, a lot of Richard Curtis movies have a very, like, you have to be fragile with women's brains kind of vibes. And this movie
so
is
smooth.
and this movie is very like that.
I'm a mental health expert, so let me say some words on this.
Professionally, you are, yes.
The shape of their brain is different and their head lumps are definitely different.
Oh, shit. When he said mental health, he meant phrenology, Paige. My
I
bad.
am not a paleontologist, Todd.
That is what that is.
I don't know the shapes of dinosaurs' brains, only humans.
But I do know that a lot of women in my life get bent out of shape. Know what I'm saying?
I honestly, okay, hot take. I love the mom's character in this movie. I realize that
I do
she
too.
doesn't really have much agency, but she is just like the nicest possible curmudgeon. Like, it's set up
She
like...
reminds me of my mom in a lot of ways.
Okay, cool.
Where I would say my mom is very kind and loving, generous and sweet, but she is also very honest in a kind way. Like, she would never just be a dick to somebody. But the scene where the mom is just like, hey, you seem like you're smart. And she's like, I try to be. She's like, good. So, or like, you seem like you're smart. You got a personality. That is one of the places where she kind of like, not fat shames her, but looks shames her.
Yeah.
And doesn't, but like the sentiment was like, you seem like you've got a lot going on and you're not just one thing. You seem like you're more things, which is, I think, something my mom would probably say to somebody.
Yeah. I could
in
see
a
that.
very loving way. Yeah.
It must be nice to get a compliment from like somebody.
Well, maybe if you weren't such a skinny titty baby bitch.
Why don't you clit your fence and go back in time and get more love and come back?
Hey, we can't be mean to him. Taco Bell's going to be closed by the time we're done recording. So we got to be nice to Todd.
Can I tell you guys a secret?
You never go to Taco Bell?
No, Mikey, it's quite the opposite. I go to Taco Bell so much that anytime I leave my house, my phone goes, oh, are you going to Taco Bell? Here's the directions to Taco Bell.
I had a Raising Cane's / Sonic run for a while that my phone was just like, hey.
Paige, I have to stop you because Mikey's like power just went out and then back on. Mikey, are you okay? What is happening? I cannot see the door behind you. Please move so I can see if anyone's sneaking up behind you right now.
I definitely think something's going on with my house where everything is either breaking all at once or
you're being haunted. Welcome back to the haunt of Mikey Randolph.
The toilet's running, the lights are flickering.
Oh, that's true. You broke your toilet with a super dump the last time we recorded.
What is happening with my life?
Are you wanting me to answer this?
It's the ghosts of all the women he's ghosted.
They're ghosting back.
That's what it is. It's all the women he's ghosted.
Here's what you got to do. Mikey, you've got to expand your house and build extra rooms and extra
God damn
hallways
you,
and
Winchester.
stairways that go nowhere to avoid the ghosts of all the women you've
sounds
ghosted.
Very expensive. I guess I'll just have a hard conversation with them.
Or you could just see that light bulb is screwed in.
Yeah, I need to
Call an electrician or some shit.
I need to screw that light all the way in.
No, it was lights. It was your whole house. You lost power to your entire house.
But he stayed on the Zoom call. Haunted.
I don't know.
You remember that? Remember that movie we did, Host, that was filmed over Zoom?
I know.
If this is a practical joke, fuck you guys.
Did your door just move?
Oh, I gotta go. I'm leaving. Mikey, you have to do a seance. I'm out of here. Bye. I don't like this at all. Now I'm fucking looking behind me and shit.
You don't even have a door back there.
Yeah,
I know.
You're in a black closet. You can time travel out at any time.
This is a full ass room.
I've got a yarn wall for art and sound dampening.
It does work for sound dampening.
It does work really well, honestly. I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should talk about the movie we came here to talk about, though, and not about how Mikey's house is haunted.
Sure. So he finds out about time travel, and then we get into and that was the summer that Barbie came to bounce on my dick. And Margot Robbie shows up to this house.
And she is not there for that purpose. She's there to hang out with his younger sister.
Yeah, because he just basically is constantly trying to okay, this time didn't work. I'll go back in time. And Bill Nye is just watching it just stupid, foolish bastard. He could be getting diamonds right now, and he's not.
Diamonds are forever.
They are. He could be playing the stock market. He could so many
This
things.
movie sucks to make jokes about.
Why?
This movie feels mopey.
I mean, I cried a lot, so I liked the movie, but I cannot disagree with that statement.
Anyway, Margot Robbie's there to visit his younger sister because she's the younger sister's boyfriend's cousin. The boyfriend who is also a shitbag.
Yes. Which means they're not related. So he is obviously going to try and hit it all summer.
As you would.
Awesome.
He hasn't met Rachel McAdams yet, so this is fair game in my mind.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Anyway, he tries a bunch of different ways, and every single time she's like, not today, this thing, which I think is just her kindly letting him down.
Yeah, when she said on the last night, I wish you had told me earlier, And so
right,
he goes
and then
back,
he goes earlier.
and then she's like, you know what? Let's just have a great summer, see where things go, but come back on the last night. And I was like, clever girl.
Yeah.
Because she now just ensured she would have a respectful summer.
Right.
And then she would let him down gently on the quote last night, which we saw already. And then that's it. And he respects that. I think that's
He learns a lesson.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And I think the fact that he doesn't continue to try and get her to fall in love with him makes me feel better about the time travel weirdness in this movie, which is still not great, honestly.
Right, absolutely. So she goes home for the summer, and he's like, all right, well, I'm moving to London to lawyer to my heart's content and maybe find some ladies.
I can time travel. Time for me to pick an interesting career like lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You hear that, lawyers? Mikey doesn't respect your profession.
Okay, lawyers are universally not liked.
Look, if he wanted to wear a fancy wig and a dress, he could be in drag if he wanted to. That'd be a cool career.
Sure. Yeah.
Technically, you could have as many careers as you want.
I'd be a fortune teller because of the time travel.
Absolutely. You would be the best fortune teller ever because you could just follow me around and then the day before be like, hey, man, fuck you. I hate you. And then walk away. And that's exactly how you'd use it.
I stole your diamonds.
I mean, if you're not going to be a catch me if you can level con man, why?
Literally every other profession would be more interesting with a time travel element besides lawyer.
Well, that's why we never see him actually be a lawyer. We just see him in cutaways to it.
And he's not even a criminal lawyer.
So here's the thing. We do see him be a lawyer a little bit. And when she says he always wins, something weird happens and then he wins. And then when he's not time traveling, we realize he was going back in time to win his cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time.
We just don't see him going back to do that.
Yeah.
But yes, he was.
Yeah.
Because he's a good lawyer, and that's what I expect from our legal counsel.
He's a barrister, I think, over there.
That's why we only hire lawyers from Gleason, Gleason, and Gleason Associates.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Yellowstone Park because they're barristers. You have the right to bear arms.
In the case of the theft of
Picnic baskets. Yogi versus the Yellowstone Park
the
Association.
state of Wyoming versus Yogi Bear.
What did I do?
Why they don't like my picnic baskets?
I plead the Fifth Amendment.
Guys, our grandparents are going to love these jokes.
I don't think my grandparents would appreciate my Italian impersonations.
Maybe they shouldn't have done fascism.
Oh, I'm sorry. You modern American want to be like, oh, people be doing, we have done just as bad shit.
Yeah.
We're just quiet about it. Sometimes.
I can't do, I speak in an American accent, so I can't do it as a joke.
I'm sorry,
it's my
Mikey. I'm
voice.
going to have to interrupt you because Paige's lights just went out for a second and came back on. What the fuck is happening? Are you guys messing with me? I'm not even joking. Please stop.
I'm not messing with you. I know what mine is, Todd.
Okay.
I can make you feel better.
Okay.
This is an old ass house. It was
Okay.
built in 1950.
So it's definitely haunted. Okay.
Sure. The air conditioning was just added in the last couple years, and it is more powerful than the original grid of the house.
So when it kicks on?
Yes. So
Yeah.
when it kicks on, sometimes the lights will flicker.
Okay.
Until the solar is up and running.
Okay. Well, Mikey's definitely not living through this night, but you might be safe, Paige.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyway. He goes to move in with his father's friend. We don't know how his father and this guy know each other. We just know that this dude is not happy about it.
I love this guy because he is like, if you think about like a hyper creative person and then take that personality to the extreme, it is this person. Like I've never met like someone who is hyper creative that is this bad, as like just an asshole sort of curmudgeon-y character. But
Yeah.
I often wish I had a friend like this.
What are you talking about? This is how I picture all theater dudes.
Oh, no.
Like late in life theater dudes just fresh off their first divorce.
I'm in charge of the community theater. I direct there.
I am West Hampton's Aaron Sorkin. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Wow, West Hampton's Aaron Sorkin. Are they going to promenade and speechify as they do it?
I don't know, but it's going to take place while we walk around this gazebo we built on the stage. So
That's what promenade means.
yeah, I know.
When does Bridgerton come back?
Nobody knows, Paige. That's the magic of Bridgerton.
They just release seasons and spin-offs willy-nilly with no regard for anything.
Someday, if you wish really, really hard and believe deep inside that Bridgerton is real, it'll come back.
When you watch a Bridgerton.
If you clap cheeks hard enough, they'll know
What?
that you believe.
What?
You gotta clap it so they can.
clap.
Bridgerton gets a season.
No, mine was more of a Peter Pan reference. Mine was.
Oh.
Because you have to clap so Tinkerbell knows the magic is real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, this is way off topic, but Mikey, Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell, would you? And no, that yes is my answer. I am on the record.
No, I had an awakening.
Same. Fully same. I bet you and I saw that
was
movie
like,
exactly the same. We were like, I bet I could break her in half. Like, it would be bad.
Holy shit. Wait, you want her fairy size?
Wait, are you talking about when she's small? Jesus, Todd. I meant when she gets old or gets big.
I did too. I was just joking, Mikey. But yeah, no.
Oh, sure you were.
Yeah.
Sure you were.
Yeah. I was like, oh, maybe I'm like super into redheads. That's like, it was that and Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Maid Marian.
Good.
Anyway, so he's living with this playwright who is newly divorced and also here's another thing about this movie. Okay, so like, you know how they casually slip in some weird anti-Asian speech through this movie?
Yes.
There's also a heavy anti-sex worker sentiment in this film.
Yes.
A lot.
It's weird because we don't meet any sex workers in this movie, but
Not
they
a
refer to
one.
Joanna's character as a sex worker, or they actually, a pejorative term for sex worker, the whole movie.
Well, and not only her, and the reason I brought it up is in this scene, the playwright, when he's like showing him where the room he can stay and whatever.
Oh, yeah, about
he's
his
like,
daughter.
He's like, you sleep with my daughter. Apparently she's a sex worker, which she's not. He's just being cruel. But then Joanna not only gets referred to as a sex worker multiple times, she refers to her own apartment as a brothel.
Yeah.
And any number of things. And I was just like, what? There are other words. Like, why is this so prevalent? Because it doesn't even necessarily make sense. Like, if you're trying to slut shame somebody, there's a lot of other ways to do that. I still don't like it, but there's a lot of other words. And this movie just aggressively goes after everyone who has sex ever as a sex worker. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
It's real weird.
It is. I feel like it's very in place in a Richard Curtis movie, unfortunately. Like, that felt very normal to me, knowing that Richard Curtis wrote and directed this movie.
Yeah, because British people.
I always feel like Richard Curtis movies have an element of being what I would call stereotypically British. And I don't know if that's... I'm not British. I would like to assume that British people don't randomly throw out slurs and stuff.
I'm not British, Paige, because my grandfather fought to make it happen.
I think it's a few more grands.
Probably.
Anyway, so he's writing a play while Domhnall Gleeson is lawyering, and they're not having a great time. It's like a hardcore bachelor pad not funness, right?
Yeah.
And at a certain point, his friend, who is obnoxious but is still his friend, everyone's got one of those friends that you're like, oh God, all right. Like, I love you. Can you quiet down? Like, Anyway, they go to a dark restaurant, which I have never done and now kind of want to do.
I would go 100%.
I'm too picky of an eater, but I think that's a scenario in which I would be like, I just have to surrender to the experience.
Yes, I would completely surrender to the experience. I've actually done something like this. It wasn't a restaurant, but it was like it was a big like warehouse sort of thing, and you would walk through rooms that were different like building setups. So it was like one was a diner, and one was an office, and one was like a grocery store and stuff like that. And it was like so you could feel like what it would be like if you didn't have sight. It was a really like cool and, pardon the pun, but like eye-opening experience to what that is like for those people. It was cool.
There's a place in San Francisco called the Exploratorium that has something called the Tactile Dome that was built originally, I believe, in like the 70s, because it is very much one of those things where you're like, oh, people used to come get high here 100%.
And probably still do.
Yeah, it's essentially like the inside of a discovery zone in like a dome, but it's completely pitch dark, and all the walls are covered in different textures of like carpet or like hardwood floors or like gummy something, and you crawl through it and you have to like find your way in the dark to then this like central room, and they're like, this is the womb room, and you're like, so this is where they smoke the weed? Cool. And then you can crawl through other tunnels and whatever.
Yeah. That's cool though. I enjoyed the experience, and I would like 100% do this kind of a restaurant. I thought it seemed like they may have been there like on a dating type thing, because they go in, the two of them, like him and Rory, and then they get paired with Joanne and Mary.
Well, some of those restaurants, because these restaurants do exist, they are a thing.
Sure.
Some of them do like group seating, where it's like you just sign up for a time and they sit you with whoever.
Okay,
so
cool.
like you don't know who you're sitting with, right?
So then it's even more happen chance, right? Like
right.
Yeah,
completely. Yeah, I feel like they maybe aren't as popular now, but I feel like they got popular at the same time that silent discos did, which I find silent discos hilarious. Like, I am all for it. Love dancing, love doing whatever, but my favorite part of silent disco is just taking your headphones off and watching everyone else dance to silence. That's the funniest part for me.
It's fun to be a part of, though. Like, I get why you'd go to one of those. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this is where they talk about Kate Moss, and they wait after, they come out. Her friend is not into his friend. and they are having a contentious after dinner interaction.
Yeah.
But she and Domhnall Gleeson are like, hey, I did kind of like you. Like, here's my number, blah, blah, blah.
And she's like, me, ugly Rachel McAdams
I'm
Bullock.
so ugly. He wrote me every day for a year. And I'm like, why? Do you have eyes? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when she walks out, the fact that he wasn't like, jackpot, like, it was like,
Yeah.
she's a gorgeous woman, right?
She's Rachel McAdams, but she's playing it like Vanessa Bayer on What We Do in the Shadows, where she's just like, I mean, my bangs, my foot is broken. I don't know.
She does
Like, it's just-
stumble out of the restaurant, and I was like, God,
Clumsy
she's
is
so
my personality.
But they exchange numbers, or I guess she gives him her number,
Right.
and then they sort of,
Part ways.
Oh, no. Then he goes, this is now the most important thing that I own.
Yes.
And I was like, you're laying on a little thick.
Yeah.
I do think that might be a turnoff for a girl if you were like laying it on that thick. At least for some, they might be like, all right, buddy.
I think it depends because I do love how they do the dark restaurant in the movie because they just show the passage of time where
Yes.
they're there for hours.
I think it was over 3.5 hours. I
Yeah.
was like, what is this, fondue?
Oh, I fucking love fondue
Me
though.
too, but they're
I
long
am here
dates.
for it. Takes forever.
I know.
I'm
I
here for
love it.
every second of it.
I would love to walk out of that restaurant and I just have shit all over my shirt.
I feel like if I really hit it off with somebody over 3 hours of just continually talking to them, I might not mind as much.
Sure,
But also, fondue, great date.
Today at a meeting, we had a long meeting and they like were like, we're going to do a working lunch. So they like ordered boxes, whatever. So they give me the most crumbly sandwich in the history of sandwiches. So I'm like sitting there, I'm doing what I'm like eating. It's just like collapsing
Just
on
granola as
Yeah,
bread
it's like eating a Nature Valley bar.
with ham in between.
My boss sitting next to me texts me and she's like, you're getting crumbs everywhere. And then I like get up to, I'm like, okay, well, they're like, oh, Michael, you're no longer needed for this part of the meeting. You can leave, like your part's over. And I was like, okay, great. And I'm like,
There's bread confetti everywhere.
People are laughing at me. And then I'm like trying to clean off the table. And it's like taking an awkward amount of time. So then I finally get up. I look in the chair. There's just a pile of crumbs in the chair. And my boss sweeps them into her hand and puts them in the trash. And
I love that after you left, your boss looked like a single parent who had just taken their toddler to like Ruby Tuesdays or some shit.
I left that meeting with so much shame.
All over my body and the floor
All
of the
over.
chair.
Down the shirt. I am a notorious shirt spiller because I've got like a boob shelf and food just falls there. But you know what doesn't have crumbs, Mikey? Fondue.
No, but
That
it's
has
got,
a drip drop.
Yeah,
That'll
it
drip
does
drop on my
have drips.
shirt.
It's got broth.
Worth it. When we were in Switzerland at Christmas, I insisted that we go have like real Swiss fondue. And we got to the restaurant that's like famous for it and ordered it. And they were like, that's 1 kilogram of cheese. And I was like, I don't fucking know your measurements. Bring the cheese. And it was conservatively the most cheese I'd seen in my entire life. It was wild. It was like a trough of cheese. I was so happy.
Truffle cheese is definitely how I
I ate
prefer
as
them.
much of it as I could.
This is officially the richest conversation I've ever heard firsthand. When I was in Switzerland for Christmas, we were so ignorant to the locals' customs that we ordered too much cheese fondue.
I don't know if you know, but Zurich has like the best fondue.
Paige, what did you have this dinner after hunting human people? Like,
No, it was
that
like
sounds
the only
that
thing
kind
we
of
ate
wealthy
during
to
the
me.
day. It was our last day because we had to fly out of Zurich because it was cheaper or whatever.
I like a good fondue restaurant.
I like any story Paige tells that I would also buy a villain in a James Bond movie telling me. So yeah,
It
like,
is
I
kind of
really
like
enjoyed that.
The preamble to her grand plan is like, my family used to go to Christmas in Zurich where I
In
got the
Zurich,
fondue.
we ate the kilogram of cheese in the Emile Henry fondue pot. I have a fondue pot, and I never make fondue, and I should.
I love fondue.
It's got to be a bitch to clean up.
It's not that bad. Well, mine is like enamel cast iron. So it's not, I've got like a really nice one. I just never do it. I don't keep sterno around. So that's probably why.
Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the groceries, prep work, and the cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door with over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more. Plus, over 55 weekly add-ons. You'll have tons of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Factor now offers like a load of snacks. In fact, we just got some of these like smoothies that were really great. They have a banana chocolate smoothie that like I drank way too much of. It was so good. And even better than that, when things get hectic, Factor's like flexible. So you can change up your order every week with plans from like 4 to like 18 meals per week. So you can like have a bunch of meals or just a few meals depending upon like how many times you need meals that week, right? So it's great. So head to factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 and use code romancingthepod50 to get 50% off. That's code romancingthepod50 at factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 to get 50% off.
Anyway, they meet up after the blackout restaurant. They hit it off. He's got her number. Great. He goes home and the playwright is like, it's the worst thing ever. A guy forgot his lines in my play. And I was like, dude, what happened at tech rehearsal? Like, there are so many times to address this problem.
I'll also argue that we could have kept this meet cute if he had handled the solution to this problem better.
Same.
Because he didn't have to go back to the night of the meet cute.
Well, that's the night of the play.
I know, but he could have
but he could have gone back
a
to
little
a
bit
rehearsal.
later.
Yeah.
He could have gone back to
Right.
to like a year before and killed the actor so someone else got cast. I'm not saying he should do that, but there are like 1,000 other things he could have done than ruin his perfect date. And then he could have just relived the date, you know?
Yeah, I do think any of those options requires him to recapture lightning in a bottle on that date.
That is true.
Anyway, so the actor forgot his lines. So he goes back in time to try and get one of the actors to review his lines. And he does, but it's the wrong actor. So then he has to go back again.
I thought that shit was so funny, though.
So funny. Because it's a two-hander.
And he learns his lesson, because this is the time he's just like, when he's listening to his friend's problem, he's just like, I got it, don't worry about it.
Right.
Every other time when he's going back to fix someone else's fuck up, he's like,
What date? What time?
yeah, exactly.
What day is it? What year? Yeah.
Exactly. So he learned from this mistake. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. So he goes back and uses cue cards. The play is a huge success. His friend is famous, but he's lost Rachel McAdams' number because he lost that night.
Right.
Which is, I'm like, dude, like, you don't have to be a genius to understand that that's what time travel does. Like, it's time travel.
I know. Like, that is basic time travel shit.
Yeah.
It's not like Tenet level time travel shit. It's just like normal time travel shit.
Right. And this is a piece of the screenwriting that I don't love, because he like finds out there's a Kate Moss exhibit, or rather photography of Kate Moss. And he goes and just sits there all day, and she happens to be there. Now, unless this was like a one-day thing or whatever, the fact that she is there either is explained away by fate in the movie, or it's bad screenwriting.
What you could do is go wait all day. If she's not there, you could travel back in time to the beginning of the day, not wait that day and go live your life, then
Yep.
do it the next day.
That's what he should have done, yes. Because he is essentially called out for a whole week from work instead of just one day to, meet her.
Yeah. Now, she manages to show up, but she doesn't know him, doesn't know who he is. But he does convince her and her friend to let him like walk around with them, which, by the way, would be a hard pass from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes off like a psychopath.
Oh, yeah.
Which you would, because he is like talking to her like they had this amazing date, and she didn't have that date,
Yeah, it doesn't exist in her mind.
It's very off-putting when someone is at a level of intimacy with you that you are not at with them.
Yes.
Yeah, you got a vibe.
Yeah.
But they sit down for a snack in like the museum cafe or whatever, and her boyfriend shows up, Rupert. Now, here's the weird thing. The movie plays fast and loose with the timing, because when she's like, oh, the party was like a week ago, I was like, wasn't that before their date? Isn't this like 2-3 days later or whatever? but we don't know. The movie's not very specific about it.
Okay, I think it's actually like a full week later. So I think the party was the night after the date. And the only reason I think that, Paige, is because the number of times, and they're also doing that, the song that like says the days of the week. I forget the name of the song.
Right.
But every time they say a new day, he's wearing something different. So I think he was there for a whole ass week.
Okay.
So I think it sort of fits, but it's, it's clunky.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's like, what exact party? What time? What time did you arrive at the party? What's your address? And I'm like, would you give a stranger your address? Of course not. Like,
no.
This is crazy. It is crazy.
But she does, which like they already think this guy's a creep. Like,
yeah,
you would never do that.
Yeah, but he pops out to the bathroom, goes back in time to that day, goes to the party, sees that Rachel McAdams is not having a good time at that party, and he's like, seems like you hate this party. Do you want to go grab some food right now? Because your eyes are gorgeous and whatever. And I was like, I might take somebody up on that if I hated that party.
I mean, if someone walked up to you and said one of your like innermost thoughts about an art you love, that they literally took from you the day before or whatever, I do think you would be emotionally manipulated into going on a date with them. Yes.
If somebody walked up and they're like, honestly, Fleabag might be the best television in modern day, I'd be like, let's fucking talk about it. Can we get fondue? Let's go. Do you have stars?
I love stars. Do you want to eat fondue? And you'd be like, what?
Come to Switzerland and have fondue with me.
All right. Can we get a full kilogram of cheese?
I would accept that invitation in a heartbeat.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
Gotta go back.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. So they go, they have dinner, and they have, again, another like 3.5 hour dinner conversation where they very quickly kind of like joke and make fun of each other. We find out that she's a reader at a publisher, which how she's living alone in her own apartment on that salary, who could say? It's very much like an Anastasia Steele from 50 Shades situation.
I honestly think her parents are loaded too, like, like Domhnall Gleeson's parents are. That's the only way any of that makes sense. And I don't know how much a reader makes, but she lives in London and has that place, and I doubt it's that much. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, like, I know now they don't make nearly as much as they used to, but even still, like at this time, they weren't making that much.
Got to start a readers union.
Yeah. And I don't know if it works differently in the UK, but here we would call it like coverage.
Yeah.
Basically. And depending on who you're doing it for, whatever. Anyway, she's like, at the end of the day, do you want to walk me to my car? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so they're walking. And I even in my notes was like, where the fuck did she park? Like, this is a really long walk.
It's very funny because like they're walking down the street past like open parking spots. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's clear like she is not parked at this venue at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And he's like, where's your car? And she's like, oh, it's in front of my apartment. And I was like, suave.
Yeah, she knows. You got to ask them a lot of little small questions that they'll say yes to. Mm-hmm. They call it laying the breadcrumbs.
Yep.
Or all the crumbs on your chair at the meeting.
That's what I get for eating a sandwich the consistency of sand.
Just made of Captain Crunch. There's flakes everywhere. What kind of sandwich was it, Mikey?
It was like it was like roast beef, ham, and turkey. It was like a, I don't know, generic box lunch kind of deal. It came with like half a pickle and like...
Gross.
What kind of bread was it? I'm trying to figure out what was crumbling.
The bread was crumbling. The bread was like, and the bread was like, the toppings were smaller than the bread. So it was like... It was like a lot of crumbs. It was just like a lot of crumbs.
Okay.
And like everyone I worked with texted me about it in the meeting because it was like obviously that something has gone wrong with my crumbling lunch.
But did they get your specific box from like a museum exhibit? Like why was the bread so crumbly?
I was like, this is the Bach lunch of a carpenter.
There's just sawdust everywhere.
Mikey is now immortal. Until he shits out the holy croissant.
If it was a croissant, I could see how that would happen. They're very flaky. So they kiss outside, and then she brings him into her apartment, and she says, I'm going to go put on my new pajamas, and if you could come in like a minute or two, then you could take them off. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, dates always go this well.
Well, I mean, again, if you have emotionally manipulated this person because you knew exactly like one of her specific innermost thoughts that like made her really think that she knew you as a person.
There's a lot of alcohol missing from this equation.
Well, but you also have to remember, he also
fair.
has 3 hours of conversation with her that she doesn't have.
Yeah.
So he can draw on all of that.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
I know,
Paige-
I'm agreeing with
yeah,
you.
Yeah. It's like, and listen, this is what we're talking about when we say that all time travel movies are inherently problematic. I do think that this movie sets it up that they are fated to be together because they do.
Much like Terminator, the best time travel romance.
A second only to this. No, actually, I do think Terminator's better than this, honestly. But
Right.
But they have that first meet cute, and that is outside of the time travel-ness of it, right? So he is just trying to like get back to what fate had delivered him in his real like actual timeline. So I think that's how I'm like sort of squaring it, that it's like okay that he's doing this, even though it's inherently problematic.
Because fate has made her love him.
Yeah, but you have to like sort of look at that as like a real thing in these movies. And some people believe in fate and some people don't. But like,
Yeah.
you know, that's like a thing in rom-coms for sure.
For sure. Anyway, he goes in, they have sex. It seems like it goes well. And he's like, that could have gone better. And she's like, I think that was lovely. And he was like, excuse me for a second.
He's like, listen, I could probably hit this right.
Yeah. So he goes out, comes back in, does it again, and it seems to go real well that time too. And he's like, one more for the road. Let's go.
Yeah.
And does it a third time where they end up on the floor. And I do love that they're like bed lying next to each other and then just like bed sheets everywhere and then floor sheets everywhere. I was like, yeah, you got it. And then she's like, only once? And he's like, oh God, my dick's gonna fall off. Because, you know, it gotta work out.
But he's supposed to be like 23, 24 at this time. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, listen, man, 3 times wouldn't be enough.
Yeah,
It's Rachel McAdams.
I know. That you've had a perfect date with twice.
Yeah, because you manipulated her with time travel.
God
Exactly.
damn. I wish you hadn't said that last part because now I feel like a creep.
You're a creep, Todd. Just using all the travel. You're traveling through the time we know. Anyway, the next morning, they're running to the train, and then we get a great montage. I think this was a great way to show this.
The passage of time. Richard Curtis
Yes.
does amazing passage of time montages
Does
in
great
his movies.
montages. And this is one of them because they're running through the train station. We're seeing different seasons. We're seeing them dressed up for Halloween. We're seeing Christmas. We're seeing they're going to fancy stuff. They're going to work, any number of things. And it's just kind of like slices of time in their life through this train station. What's really amazing is much like that Notting Hill shot, it looks like it's all one shot and they keep entering and exiting from different parts of the train. It's not one shot. They're strategically cutting, but it looks very cool.
It is so cool. I did love this shot so much, but it does imply that they've been together like, I think a year at this point. It's been a long time.
A long time. We cut to their apartment as they're kind of getting up and getting ready for the day. And she's like, oh my God, my parents are about to be here right fucking now. Put on pants. And she's like, other pants. They're super conservative. And I was like, what are conservative pants versus regular pants?
So I wondered that. Like, was he wearing jeans at first
Black
and then
jeans.
changed into slacks? Okay.
Yes.
I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense on some level, but that just means like if someone was offended I wore jeans in my own house.
In my own home.
Well,
yeah.
I guess they don't know he's living there yet, but
Still.
yeah, I mean, they're really whatever. I'm not going to wear slacks unless God asks me, so eat an ass, like whatever.
Todd, it's me. God, I demand you wear slacks.
Hey guys, hang on one second. I got to change real quick.
All right, well, take your time. It's the Lord.
Look, we don't have 3 hours. You can't change. Okay, let's keep it on.
Yeah, if you want me to get down to slack layer, it's going to take a time.
Yeah. But as they're like quickly prepping, he's like, do they know about me? Do I live here? And she's like, no. He's like, are we having sex? She's like, yes, but not oral. And I was like, hold on, what? Like, why would one be anyway?
Why would one be okay and the other not be? Yeah.
Yeah,
Why would
I was
oral
like-
not be, but like everything else
Right.
is? What's happening here? Yeah.
What's happening here?
Oral's like second base, right? Like, what are we doing?
It's third, I think, technically, but he's like, when would that come up? And she's like, I don't know. I'm just telling you. So her parents arrive and they're like, oh, should we come back another time when you don't have company? And she's like, oh, no, he lives here, which she immediately told him not to say, but like.
And she immediately spills the beans. Yeah. And then she like looks at him like, sorry. And he goes, but we're not having oral sex or whatever.
I promise you.
And then he immediately is like, if you'll excuse me, and walks right to a closet to reset it. Yeah.
Yeah. But we cut to, they come in. She does all the talking, but she basically is like, I really love him. Like, I please like him because I do, which is very, very sweet.
It is. Because her parents are like asking him questions and she won't let him answer because she's just so nervous. She's like talking over him every time she tries to answer. And it's so goddamn charming. This scene, like,
it's funny.
The way
it's
it
a
sort
funny
of
scene.
ends is she's like, I'm sorry, I'm nervous and I'm talking. So like, let me pass it on to him. And he's like about to start. And she goes, if I could just say one thing, and then the scene ends, it's so cute.
But she, after her parents leaves, or she's like, I just want to sleep for a whole day. I'm just going to stay in bed.
Yeah.
One of those days. And he's like, all right, well, I have tickets to the theater. Do you want to come? And she's like, no, take your friend. So he takes Rory from the office. This is where he runs into Margot Robbie again, which at first she's like, this is my girlfriend. I don't remember the girlfriend's name. And he's like, oh, thank God you're gay. And she's like, why would you think that? And he's like, because girlfriend. Nope. He does a redo. And then he's like, hey, you should be careful when you say girlfriend. Sounds like you're gay. And her friend's like, I am gay. And he's like, ah, shit, redo. Like,
I did love that part. It was very funny.
So he eventually tries to just avoid seeing her, but they run into him outside.
Yes. And that's like Margot Robbie's kink. Because she's
Is
like
outside.
into it. No, not outside, Paige. No, she's turned on by guys who were not into her.
Yes, which we did establish earlier in this film.
Yes. I wasn't joking.
See, that's where I feel like the time travel need to be loved should come from, is her need to want a guy who doesn't want her.
I don't understand what you mean.
Well, like if I meet a beautiful woman, the first thing I say to her is, I'll be right back for cigarettes, and I don't come back for 3 days.
And then by then she's gone because it's been 3 days and he didn't get her name or number.
Yeah.
But if not, she's into you every time.
Oh, yeah. She'll always remember that time someone twice her age asked her where he could buy cigarettes.
60% of the time, it works every time.
60% of the time, she's confused all the time.
I'll be right back. And I'll just come back a week later smoking a cigarette and be like, oh, I forgot you were here.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah. I'm going to go to my room if you want to come or whatever.
In your mind, has she been standing there waiting for your return?
She's been doing other stuff, but like mentally, that's where she's been.
She's been calling Celine Dion to be like, so should I like wait for him or should I go like put myself back out there? And Celine Dion is like, you don't know what love is.
You don't know. No. I've come back. Celine Dion has declared me a man.
Okay, Celine Dion, I got the Skittles for the offering. What's next?
Are they tropical Skittles?
They are like this, like the photo I sent you from my road trip the other day.
That was pretty funny.
So they run into them outside and he's just trying to get away because he's like, I can't seem to have a good interaction with this person. It's time to go.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, bye. And Rory is just like, she is so attractive. You'd go blind from having sex with her. And I was like, I don't know why you think that's a risk, but okay.
Rory doesn't seem like he's the smartest friend.
No, but it made me laugh because I thought about like, do you ever hear people be like, don't masturbate, you'll go blind? Like it made me like, this is the pinnacle of that. Where it's just like, she's so hot. You're going to go fucking blind. You can't do anything about it. Anyway, so she comes back and she's like, I told my friend to go home. Fuck her. Let's go get food or whatever. And he's like, fuck. Okay, sure. So he goes to dinner with her, which I don't love.
Me either.
I don't like it either.
I thought everything up to this point was fine. He was like trying to reconnect with an old friend of his sister's. It went badly twice, so he was like, fuck it. And then she came up to him and it was a nice casual conversation. It wasn't like he was hitting on her or anything.
Sure.
And then when he goes with her, I feel like that's the point. I'm like, this is not good.
Yeah, it's bad. But they go to dinner, they have a good time, and she's like, can you walk me home? And again, he's like, okay. They get to her door and she's like, you should come inside. And he's like, you know what? I gotta leave. But at no point in this interaction has he been like, I have a girlfriend.
He doesn't even tell her at this moment.
Doesn't even tell her.
No.
He just leaves. And he goes back to his basically apartment with Rachel McAdams. and asks her to marry him.
Which doesn't go well the first time because she's
No.
asleep.
Yeah. But he comes back a second time and he's got all this music and she's like, thank you for doing this at home without a bunch of people around. He's like, oh, you bet. And then he goes out to the living room and he's like, everybody go home. Like,
But it's the band from the Subway and like a
Yes.
stand-up bass player now. And I thought it was really cute. But but that would have been a nightmare. Imagine like having had like a lazy day sleeping all day and then having your boyfriend come wake you up and then show you a band to propose to you.
yes, in your living room.
While you're dressed like you've been sleeping all day. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
You know,
but
jeans, sweatshirt.
well, like regular. Like, listen, I get what I do is
You
not
admit
normal.
that it's not regular.
I get made fun of so often for it. It can't be normal.
Anyway, we cut to his parents' house where he's going through records with his dad. His sister shows up and like tackle hugs Mary. And we did get a little thing with Margot Robbie where he's like, oh, your cousin's still seeing my sister because they thought they'd broken up.
Yeah.
But it's just like sprinkled in exposition.
I think it's just
Yeah.
sprinkled in to signify that his sister and then his
What's his
sister's
douche
boyfriend.
guy?
Yeah, I forget
Yeah.
his name, but
Jimmy.
that character, they're like on again, off again, like tumultuous relationship kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah. But so they announced to the family, not only are they getting married, but they're having a baby. Hooray.
Which is a surprise to the audience. I was like, oh
yeah,
my God,
we didn't know.
that's awesome.
I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. Well, but then I was like, maybe that's why she was sleeping.
Yeah.
Could be. Anyway, we cut to their apartment where she's like, we need to plan the wedding because we're getting married like right away. So I'm going to take off a piece of clothing for every decision you make. Where should we get married? And he's like, at home, then the local priest and whatever.
And she's not very layered up. So there's really only 4 decisions he makes in this conversation. I was like, girl, you should have really, if you really needed a lot of decision, you should have like wore some clothes.
Huh.
Takes off a poncho and then like a slanket.
So what you guys are saying is, really, you should enter every conversation properly layered up. And I appreciate that you guys have come around to my way of thinking on clothing.
That was Mikey, not me.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just saying if your goal was to strip, which I would never ask you a question if you said, every time you ask me a question, I'll take a piece of clothing off. I'd be like, turn your camera off on this Zoom call, please. And then and be done with it.
All right, hang on. Let me get the light switch again.
I did think she would have on way more clothes, like as a bit.
Right.
So, Mikey, I do agree. It's weird that she's wearing so little, but it's fine, I guess.
Whatevs. Then we get a real fun montage of their wedding. I actually love the way they do the wedding, where it's like windy and it's raining and the tent collapses because water flows in on everybody.
That tent company getting sued, baby. Like, there's no way they're paying for those tents.
It's so crazy, but it also implies that they don't go back and redo it. They just accept it as bad, which I love.
And he even asks her, although she doesn't know because he's never honest with his wife once in this movie, but
Yeah.
he asked her, he's like, would you have wanted to pick a day that didn't rain? And she's like, not for the world. I loved this, which
Yeah.
I thought it was nice that, like, at least on her wedding day, he decided to give his wife agency over one decision in her life. That's what I mean by, like, these movies are inherently problematic, but, like, it is sort of a sweet moment, but if you really think about it, it's kind of gross.
Yeah, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they have the baby. It's Posey. It's very sweet. And they're having a birthday party, I think a 1-year-old birthday party for Posey.
Yeah.
And Kit Kat, the sister, is not there. But her boyfriend shows up and they're like, why the fuck isn't she with you? And he's like, she's not here. That's not good.
Yeah, we got in an argument and I left and I said we'd meet here.
She'd been drinking. Yeah.
Yeah. So we come to find out that she was in an accident and is in the hospital.
A drunk driving accident. Yes,
Yeah.
it is in the hospital. Miraculously alive. We never find out about the other people.
It didn't seem like that bad of an accident. Like, I bought her injuries, but it didn't look like
Sure.
no cars flipped or anything. Like,
She wasn't on the freeway, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, those cars are so tiny. Like, really.
They actually were pretty small cars, which is not uncommon over there.
They
but
were small cars and they weren't going super fast.
Yeah.
But he then is like, okay, something is wrong with my sister and I need to do something to keep her away from this guy, which, by the way, it's not the guy. Like, I know the guy is also bad, but there are some internal things that I think the sister needs to grapple with in addition to maybe not being with that guy, which they eventually get to that point.
Yeah. It's the drinking for her, I think, ultimately. Well, and I mean, the guy is a bad situation too, but
Guys, we're going to get there. They're going to stare that out of her in a minute, and that's going to be fine.
Sure. But he takes the sister back, which again, this is one of the only times we see people go back together except for him and his dad. And the fact that you could just take someone back with you is bonkers. And then the sister knows and doesn't tell. Nobody tells anybody. It's crazy. Anyway, he takes the sister back.
Well, the sister doesn't remember because he goes back with her. They fix her life and he loses Posey.
But then he goes back to make sure he doesn't take her back.
Yeah,
because
so
he
she wouldn't remember that because of the way the story plays out. But you're right. And it's nuts to me that, like, you can bring someone back with you and his wife never knows that he can do this.
And his mom never knows. Like,
it's sort of all the women in their life are treated like they're too fragile to share real information with them.
Yeah. Anyway, but he comes back and he's got a son instead of Posey, which he then just abandons, even though he would, you're right, have all the memories because of what they established from the movie.
Yes.
So he goes back and basically realizes that he has to let his sister get hurt to keep his own daughter.
Yes.
But also he talks to his dad and finds out that, like, kids make a difference because you can't go back past you. Then you change every time. So once the kids, are born, you can't go back past that point, which will come into play a couple different ways later.
But Bill Nighy has to, like, explain how sex works to explain this, like, hiccup in the time travel, like, story, right?
Right.
He's like, it's a different load you shoot into your wife if it doesn't happen on the same night or whatever. So it's like,
whatever. Yeah.
I was like, wow, I didn't need this level of detail. Thank you, though, Richard Curtis.
Thanks. Yeah. But this next scene is where we get, because he's like, let's have another baby. I think because he's like, I met a possible son and I had memories of him and now it's gone. So let's have another baby.
I think what he's saying is, okay, shit, I might get cancer because it runs in my family. And if I don't have a child that can extend a full generation into the future longer than I would naturally live to potentially bring back a cure for me, I might die. So, like, I've got to have a son so we can leapfrog this shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But she, at that point, is like, no, that hurt. Plus, I got so fat, so disgustingly fat, and just, like, goes on about it. And then we cut right into her. They have had the second baby. They do have it, right? Then we cut it to her trying on dresses for this event with that author. And she is complaining about, like, I'm lumpy and all the, and I'm like, first of all, you're not. You're Rachel McAdams.
She's real skinny, in fact. Especially in that dress.
Movie.
Like, it's so form-fitting. You can see...
It's gorgeous on her.
She's very skinny,
But this scene really has no purpose.
It has no purpose other than to somehow body shame Rachel McAdams. It's just that he left Posey alone too long downstairs and she destroys that manuscript.
Yeah.
And he wants to, she's like, don't leave, don't you dare. And he's going to just go, he would duck into a closet and reset it, right?
Yeah.
But they get a phone call that his dad has cancer. So now they have to go see his dad.
They got to go back out to Cornwall.
And so he has this conversation with his dad and he asks, have we had this conversation before? And his dad admits, like, oh, I've reset this a bunch of times to try and get this right. Basically, like, he said, one time I let myself down and hugged you, which I'm like, let's just hug people, man. Like,
well, they do.
Yeah.
Man, the last half of this movie, like, hit me like a fucking truck, which is probably in hindsight not the best word to use.
No,
but it did. Starting with this conversation, I was teary-eyed the rest of the movie.
Sure. Well, and especially because at this point, his dad's like, stop traveling.
Yeah.
Like, stop time traveling. Unless, like, live every day normal and then travel to live the day again, to notice the things that you truly treasure in that life.
Yeah.
Although, here's my favorite, because we show him doing that for a day and his friends still get, like, his friend Rory's boss still doesn't know his name and it's been like 5 years and he still doesn't correct his boss in the redo. And I was like, You had a chance to be like, actually, it's Rory, and you still didn't.
No, he took that time to write, he's a total dick on the back of that pad. So when he picks it up, Rory can laugh, but, still be called the wrong name.
Still be called the wrong name. Yeah. But he gets home after reliving the day and is like, actually, you know what? It was a pretty good day. And Rachel McAdams is like, oh, that's too bad. Because if it was a bad day, I was going to bone it down. And he was like, it was a terrible day. I murdered someone. Everything went
fired.
wrong.
Yeah.
I got fired. And so they have sexy times. But as he's kind of voiceovering, he's like, there's also some days you only want to go through once.
Well, but yeah, because when his dad tells him his secret to happiness,
right,
he also reveals in the story that like he has cancer and has for a while.
Yeah.
And it's gotten bad and he has weeks to live. And then,
right,
we jump to this day.
His funeral, or some sort of gathering, because it's not like a big old funeral, just them at the house or whatever. But he does go back in time to talk to his dad and be like, yeah, I got them to play Nick Cave. And I was like, kind of had on a hat for a funeral, right? But all right. If you liked Nick Cave in life, then why not in death?
Yeah. I'm going to make you listen to my shittiest Spotify playlist when I die. Ooh, I can't wait.
I just mean that Nick Cave sings about death a lot. And I'm like, we get it. There's a coffin.
Now Todd has asked, in remembrance of him, that you listen to this 10-hour cover of every Hoobastank song he liked.
And the reason is you.
Well, I'm out of here. He'll know. Like, I sent flowers.
I don't even know why they let my murderer at my funeral, Mikey, so you probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah, right? We definitely should be there. Anyway, we do kind of reveal that he goes back and visits his dad over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Through this time. At which point, Rachel McAdams is like, let's have a third kid. And he's like, the Chinese don't even get to have that many. And I was like, what do they have to do with this? But it was just one of those ones where I was like, what? What is this? Like, I understand that you're referencing their policy at the time, but like,
yeah, the only thing the Chinese let reproduce is the Wuhan virus.
Oh my God.
the delicious bats.
As a COVID conspiracy joke for you all.
Thank you for clarifying that it was a joke.
I'll tell you what's a joke. The plague that's coming. Plandemic 2025.
Plandemic, because they made it up and planned for it.
They planned it. Honestly.
Because the CIA created it.
I can't wait to stay home and make more sourdough bread. You guys, I'm in a house now. Like, I survived COVID in a fucking apartment.
I missed out. If I was in this house, I would have got a bigger pool.
Oh, yeah.
A bigger plastic pool, mind you.
A bigger ass pool, and then put that shit back. I mean, I would have had a good time.
Yeah.
Listen, I own a house too, and I may never leave. I love it.
Yeah. Like, I'd have a backyard, because that was the thing. In pandemic, we were in the apartment, and people were like, just go outside for a little bit of day. And I'm like, I fucking can't. I don't have an outside to go to. And now I do.
Now I do, yeah.
It's great.
Mm-hmm. And all the crafts I could want.
Yes.
Anyway, so he realizes that if they have a third baby, because this baby will be born after his dad is dead, that he won't be able to go back to see his dad ever.
And this is when I 1000% start sobbing again. It's just terrible. Fuck.
Okay. It is nice that there's a lot of male relationships with like a real lack of toxic masculinity in this film.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It is great.
I feel like at a certain point, death is inevitable and we have to cope with it.
Yeah.
And in some ways, continuing to visit his dad after dying was prolonging that process.
I feel like it made it worse. Yeah, because he's reliving the death every time he goes back to see him.
Yes.
And that is brutal, but like
that sounds amazing.
But like, would you do that to be able to like have a last final conversation with your dad? Fuck yeah, I would, in a heartbeat. But like, you're right.
Yeah.
And I ultimately think he makes the right choice. And I think he makes the choice that his dad would have wanted him to make. Like, live your life.
Sure.
And that's like his key to happiness.
Yeah.
It's just so sweet. Like, I bawled through them, like, because he goes back and visits his dad, and then his dad is like, hey, can we take a trip together? And they both go back to like them on the beach. Like, I'm getting teary-eyed talking about it right now.
As kids, though. He goes, oh.
Well, like Donald Gleason as a kid, and him as like a 30-something-year-old father, and they're just like reliving like the like the dad's salad days, you know? Like it's so sad. Oh,
So sad. But
Fuck.
she does have the other baby. And also Kit Kat and Jay end up together and have a baby. And then they like shit on her. They're like, she's not a great mom. And I was just like,
know.
leave Kit Kat alone.
it's so terrible. Like it's not enough. Like this woman has overcome addiction. She's overcome like toxic relationships, and she's like, you know, in a great relationship and as a mom. Like, give her some credit, y'all. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and then he reveals that he's like, basically after the third baby, he's like, I don't travel back anymore. I just treat every day as if I traveled back to it for a specific reason. And then it starts to play Ben Folds' The Luckiest. And I'm just like, no, not a contemplative ballad about the nature of fatherhood. Because Ben Folds is like amazing at writing those.
I know.
If you ever want just a song to make you cry, call Ben Folds.
And he will write you one. Like that dude's prolific. He's so good, man. Yeah.
And this is because I'm a Ben Folds nerd. Still Fighting It is one of his first songs about fatherhood, which a great song. It's about I believe his oldest son. The Luckiest, I believe, is about his daughter.
I mean, that would make sense because Posey is like the stand-in for all of his children. So yeah.
And it was just like, every time he has a new kid, he writes a new song about like the nature of parenting that kid. And it's so fucking sad. But anyway, oh wait. I pulled up the wrong notes because I flipped between two screens and I was like, what? Ernie Hudson?
That was last night or 2 nights ago for horror
That was 2
version.
nights ago. But so The Luckiest plays, and I thought for sure, because it's him and Rachel McAdams on the phone, and this movie has been so long and rambling that I thought for sure that Rachel McAdams was going to get like hit by a car or something, and he was going to have to like, I traveled one last time or whatever.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. And
that's the
movie.
I actually really love the ending because it just sort of slips into seeing like scenes of everyone's normal day life.
Yes, I do really like it.
And then our main characters sort of fall away in that.
Right.
And then eventually come back at the very end, but it's a very sort of normal day conversation. It's like, oh, I'll see you later tonight.
Yeah, life is beautiful. Appreciate all the small moments, all that bullshit. Yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
I'm maybe not in the best mood for this.
Mikey's very cynical this evening, but I like that energy and I'm here for it. But after seeing this movie, after talking about this movie, what did you guys think about Time?
I like it.
I like this better than most Richard Curtis films.
I think this is my second favorite to Notting Hill.
I like this better than Notting Hill.
For me, Pirate Radio's first, then Notting Hill, then this.
Oh, shit. I'm thinking just the rom-coms. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie. I did not realize, because I hadn't seen it since it came out, and because my dad has died since then, like, I did not remember how hard hitting it was on the dad stuff. I was crying so much, Natalie brought me tissues. It was like that kind of an issue. So, like, I probably won't watch this again because of that, but I loved it.
Oh, yeah. I did like it. It did make me cry. It's not one that I'm going to come back to a lot, but it's also one of those ones that if somebody was like, should we watch this? Yeah, sure. Why not? And there were parts that genuinely made me laugh. Like it is a funny movie too.
Yeah,
It's better than most rom-coms we do.
I would agree.
Yes,
I would agree.
Absolutely. But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts.
Top time fun facts. Zoe Deschanel was originally supposed to play Mary instead of Rachel McAdams, but she dropped out due to scheduling conflicts. Remember, this is like 2011, 2012, as this is in pre-production. Zoe Deschanel was on New Girl, so I believe it was the scheduling for the show that caused her to drop out.
I mean, love New Girl, but she would have been great in this.
I do. New Girl, for me, has one of the best chemistry kisses on television in years.
Yeah.
I also, there is an abandoned subplot on New Girl that I really wish they would have like seen through, but I think there was just, I don't know. But so Schmidt used to be overweight and then ends up dating a plus size woman
that he had dated once when he was overweight.
And now is dating her again and feels like he can finally be his true self. And then the show is just like, yeah, fuck that though. He's back with Cece. And you're just like, damn it, that was such an interesting subplot. Like, fuck. Anyway.
It was like a therapy level breakthrough subplot. for
Yes.
the character Schmidt
Yes.
that they just abandoned. Yeah, I
completely abandoned.
love that show, so I
was,
watch it like on repeat occasionally.
I think it was Merritt Weaver who played.
It was, and she's
so good.
Oh wait,
She was so
Merritt
good in
Weaver
it.
and Dominique Gleeson had a show on HBO,
called Run.
They did. I have not
and it
watched
was real good.
Anyway, so when they walk from Joanne's to Mary's car, which we know is at her apartment, that would be a 6-mile walk across central
Holy
London.
shit.
It's a long walk. It's pretty long.
I mean, that would take you 3-ish hours probably.
Right. In that montage at the end where everyone's just kind of doing their own thing with their lives, Rory is reading the book Trash, which ends up being Richard Curtis's next film. So he wrote the screenplay for Trash and About Time right around the same time.
Okay.
That's why they were able to put it in the movie as like a little Easter egg.
Okay, cool.
Despite being set in London, none of the 3 main actors are actually English.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, Domhnall Gleeson is Irish, Rachel McAdams is Canadian, and Margot Robbie is Australian.
Okay.
All
I
right.
mean, Bill Nye is obviously, but whatever.
Bill Nye is famously British, and I would argue is more of a main character than Margot Robbie, but I still
I
love
would too. I would
love
too,
that fun
yeah.
fact. Yeah.
In South Korea, this movie was seen by more than 3 million people, which made it a surprise hit overseas.
I've got
Oh,
numbers
weird.
on that page for
Do
box
you?
office.
Okay, we'll
yeah, so
talk
I'll
about it
share
more
some
in
of
box
that.
office.
Yeah.
So, the restaurant in the dark. It's a restaurant where the waiters are unable to see as well as the diners, although the waiters that work there end up seeing a little bit, just your eyes acclimate. But there is a restaurant like this in London, Dans le Noir, and it's at 6973 St. John Street in London, if you want to go.
I do want to go.
I really want to go. Domhnall Gleeson's mom is actually named Mary, just like the movie.
Okay.
And the secret name for this movie when it was shipped out to theaters and when they were filming so that people didn't know what it was Cupboard.
Wow, I hate that. I thought the title would have been, yes, Rachel McAdams is in another time travel rom-com.
The Time Traveler's Cupboard.
So Richard Curtis has offered an explanation for some of the time travel rules. Sorry, I was just trying to do time travel math in my mind. That's why it looks like I short-circuited. But when Tim time travels, it's only within his own lifetime to places he's already been, and he can't travel to the future. But by traveling back to the place where he started, it's not technically the future because he's already been there from the time when he traveled back.
Right.
There you go.
So time is always progressing and he's just catching back up with it.
Yes,
Or
exactly.
I guess it pauses when he goes back in time and then he can sort of unpause his current timeline when he goes back to it.
Right.
Sure. This is like one of those things, I don't care about that. Like, I loved the story. I don't care how the time travel works specifically.
Now, this is, and I don't think we'll do all 4, but we have done at least 2 of them. This is one of 4 movies in which Rachel McAdams stars as the love interest of a time traveler.
Yeah.
First is Time Traveler's Wife, which we have done.
Yes.
Then the other one is Midnight in Paris, which we will probably not do because it's Woody Allen.
I've not seen it. Yeah.
Yes. She also stars in Doctor Strange, which we will probably not do because it doesn't qualify, but that is also a time travel movie.
Holy shit. Yeah, I wouldn't qualify that a rom-com, but
Yeah, but so we have done, I would say, the 2 that we will do of the 4. And those are your fun facts.
well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So, what do you think the production budget was for About Time in 2013?
$17 million.
I'm going to go higher and say 40.
Okay, so the budget was $12 million,
Oh, damn. Nice.
which is not as bad as I was expecting, too.
no,
Like,
this looks great for 12 million.
yeah, and like with stars in this movie, like it looks
Yeah.
great. So anyway, but if you adjust for inflation, that's roughly $15.7 million today. Now, this movie came out in the U.S. on November 1st of 2013. It was 14th in the theaters the week it came out, and it was only in 175 theaters. So the fact that it was 14th shouldn't shock you, right?
Yeah.
But number 1 that week was Ender's Game. Number 2 was Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa. Number 3 was Las Vegas. Number 4 was Freebirds. And number 5 was Gravity. And then, of course, 14th that week was About Time. What do you think About Time brought in its opening weekend?
$400,000.
I'm going to say 1 million.
Paige, you're almost exactly right. You're only off by $76,000 because it was $1,076,000 in its opening weekend. Now, it had a good opening weekend, and in the second weekend it was out, it went from 175 theaters to 1,200 theaters, and then was 9th that weekend and brought in more money, honestly. But it was in the theaters for a total of 8 weeks. So what do you think it made domestically in the theaters in 2013?
I'm going to say 10 million.
Mikey, you want to guess?
Domestically, I'm definitely going to say 5.
Okay, it made more than that. It was $15.3 million domestically. Now, Richard Curtis movies are sort of UK and Europe movies, more so than a lot of movies that we produce here, right? So it did very well in the United Kingdom. It made $12 million in the United Kingdom alone, which typically for Richard Curtis movies, that's where the biggest box office draw is. But this movie is an outlier because, as Paige mentioned in Fun Facts, it made more money in South Korea than it even did in the United Kingdom. It made $19.2 million in South Korea by itself.
Damn!
Yeah.
That's wild!
Which is crazy. It obviously did well in other countries. So the international box office was actually $69.6 million on this movie.
Good Lord.
Yeah, putting the worldwide total at $84.9 million, which is
good for them.
Really good. Yeah, if you adjust that for inflation, that would be roughly $111.4 million today.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went on to make another $15.6 million in DVD and Blu-ray sales. So this definitely made money. I mean, that right there puts it over $100 million in 2013. But that's your box office. Mikey, do you want to hit him with that romance and roar scale?
Oh, yeah, the romance scale is scale 1 to 10 of how romantic we found the film we watched it today. Paige.
Manipulation.
I know.
But I'm still gonna give it like a 3. They've got great chemistry.
They do.
They do. And I'm gonna give it 1 lion roar for his repeat attempts.
I don't know. I think I'm going to give it a 4. I really like their chemistry.
Interesting.
But I cried way more for like the dad shit than I did for their romance shit. So it's like, I don't know. It also feels like a coming of age sort of tale from Domhnall Gleeson's perspective. I don't know. But I like the movie a lot. But I would give it maybe a 1.5 on the roar scale as well, Paige.
Yeah, I think I would give it like a 6 on the romance scale.
Okay. All
they're
right.
very good chemistry. I like their first mute cute, even though they throw it away, but they have good moments and stuff, and they weren't toxic to each other, which is great.
Yeah, everyone's nice to each other. Like, I find everyone in this movie very charming.
Yeah. So that's what I'll give it. And that's our romance scale.
Yeah, all right. So this week, I made you guys watch About Time. Paige, what are you making us watch next week?
I'm gonna give you guys some choices.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, your first choice is an 80s historical drama starring 2 people that go on to be very, very famous.
I'm very, very interested in this.
I know. You said a lot of words that have piqued my interest in that sentence.
Sure, that's great. Your next option is a bonkers, terrible 80s movie that's been heavily requested in the group. And your third option is a modern film that will make all of us cry. What's your choice?
I'm going to pick one of the 80s films.
I'm going to go with the second one. The one that is bonkers that's been requested a bunch because I think it might be Mannequin 2. Or at least I have a better chance of it being Mannequin 2.
It's not Mannequin
Okay.
2, but it is a sequel. However, we have not done the original, but it doesn't matter. They stand alone.
They don't. I'm not doing that. I picked the first one.
Oh, you're split. Do you want to flip a coin?
No, let's go with the first one.
Okay, then the first one is the one that I mentioned last week. It's Lady Jane, which is actually now streaming on Amazon,
Oh,
or at
cool.
least rentable on Amazon.
All right, Lady Jane.
Starring Carrie Elwes, pre-Princess Bride,
What?
and Helena Bonham Carter.
Okay.
Yes. Now, I did bring this up to my mom. Showed me this movie as a teenager, and she's like, I don't really think it's a romance. And I was like, it's literally filed under romance. So I think she might be misremembering the film a bit. I remember it being very romantic. I will warn you, a little depressing, but very good. So we'll watch Lady Jane next week.
Cool.
All right, well, your homework for next week is to watch yet another depressing rom-com. And Lady Jane.
It's not a com. It's just a rom,
Just
for
a rom-
sure.
All right. Well, watch that movie and then report back for that episode. So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
No, I don't.
Well, while you're looking one up, let me tell them how they can have their review read on the podcast, and that's to leave us a 5-star text review, and I'll make Mikey read it for you. So, Mikey, whose review are you going to read this week?
Buttery Death says the real love story.
Oh.
Title is their title of the review.
I love this.
I came across this show because of my passion for movies. I'm not really the biggest in romance movies, but there are some that are good.
That's fair. That's sort of how I feel.
I enjoy this show, though, because of the two love stories present. Mikey and Todd have the perfect romance, and I enjoy hearing about Mikey's quest for the perfect woman. 5 stars.
Well, Buttery Death, I love that review, and thank you so much for it. And if you want to have Mikey read your 5-star review, leave us a 5-star review. So, yeah, guys, if you like this power throuple that we have here on this podcast, make sure to check out our other podcast, The Horror Virgin, and that is the only other podcast that Mikey and I are on, but Paige gets around, and she is on 2 other podcasts, Black Card Rehab, and Cult Podcast. So guys, definitely check out those because they're amazing. If you want to follow us on social, we are at Romancing the Pod Show
Yes.
on Instagram, and we are at something else on Twitter who I just have never taken the time to learn
It's just Romancing Pod Show because they have a character limit and it's show SHO like Showtime.
So guys, check that out as well. And if you want to follow us all individually, Paige is at Rampage Wesley everywhere, including TikTok, except for Twitter, where she is at Paige Wesley. Mikey is at mrandolph24, and I am at Todd J Awesome everywhere. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
Come into my cupboard and clench your fist with me.
Oh, God.
I'm going to go get some cigarettes. I'll see you guys next week.